Okay. Hi. What's that? Okay, so we're going to proceed as it's listed here on the agenda. So first, Ms. Roth, then Department of Ed, and then LAO.
Good morning. I'm Shannon Roth, the Youth Development Director for the Sacramento Chinese Community Service Center, and I'm here representing for our agency 5,600 students and their families that we serve daily across 27 schools in Sacramento and Twin Rivers districts. As I was preparing for today's conversation, I received a list of talking points put together by people much smarter than me, and I began to realize that you're all very smart people, and you understand that the cost of living increases and the increases in minimum wage here in California would adversely impact programs that hadn't received an increase in funding during the last decade. And so today we'd like to ask you to consider this Senate bill and to augment the $54 million in Proposition 98 funds for the after-school education and safety program to cover the cost of implementing the new statutory minimum wage obligations. I'm sure there are people at the table that can talk a lot about the statistics and the dollar amounts and all of the less interesting points, but I had an experience recently I just wanted to share with you quickly. A few years ago, I was the program manager at Luther Burbank High School in South Sacramento, and I had the opportunity to work with a young man who referred to himself as Juicy. And Juicy was required to be in after school in order to remain on the football team. And so he selected a leadership class as a freshman. And Juicy was the kind of kid that had a hard time getting anywhere on time. He walked a little slow, and so I had an opportunity almost daily to escort him to his 7th period after school class. Through his high school career, he stayed in after school in a variety of leadership classes and academic support programs. And he graduated from high school, and I lost track of him. A few weeks ago, I was at the County Office of Education, and I ran into Juicy. And after a giant hug, he corrected me and said his name, he goes by now, is Cameron Edwards, his legal name. And he thanked me for all of the efforts that we had given to him in after school, the individualized support, the high quality programming, the development of him as a person in leadership capacity building and academic efforts, and helping him to get on his way to college. I'm happy to tell you that Juicy is overcoming a big stigma. On one of my conversations with him, as we were walking to class when he was in 9th or 10th grade, I said, Juicy, how are you going to feel when you're the principal of a high school, and the kids are always late to class, and nobody's in a real hurry to get into where the learning is happening? And he said, he's like 6'2" as a freshman or sophomore. He said, "Look around, Mrs. Roth. There are no black principals." And so my chance meeting with him at SCOE a couple weeks ago, looking at this young man who is entering the field of education and is thanking me for the impact that we made in after school and his choice to enter education here in Sacramento, that was a great bonus for me that day. And so as you're considering this Senate bill, I'd like you to think about the thousands of little kids, the little Juicies in California, who will someday grow up to be Mr. Edwards and who will want to have high quality and need to have high quality after school programming to bridge that gap and make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Department of Education.
Monique Ramos on behalf of the Department of Education. The superintendent is in support of the bill and in support of the augmentation. He's been a longtime supporter of after-school programs, and I think as we've had conversations on the early learning side of the House and talked about the impact of the minimum wage and rate, this program has not received an increase at all since its induction, since it was started in 2006. And we have also heard several stories about the impact minimum wage has had on the providers of these programs, these very important programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. LAO?
Carolyn Chu from the LAO. I was just asked to give a little bit of background about the after-school Education and Safety, or otherwise referred to as ASIS program. It was passed by Proposition 49 in 2002 and essentially reorganized existing before and after school programs across the state into a unified program. The ASIS program is an annual appropriation of $550 million. It serves 41,000 schools in about 350 districts. It results in about 450,000 children being served across the state in grades K through 8. When ASIS was enacted, the statutory rate set into practice was $7.50 per student for the afternoon portion of the program. The morning portion of the program is currently set at $5 per student. In addition to the $550 million from Proposition 98, every year districts are required to provide a match of 33% of their total grant amount. So there's a state portion and a district portion. Most districts choose to contract these services out to community-based organizations in their individual districts. When the proposition originally passed, districts were chosen based on their decile ranking for the API, and generally districts remain in the program unless they're in poor standing. So once a district was selected, it can continue to be in the program as long as it hasn't misused the funds in some way. When a district does not meet its enrollment targets in any particular year, then its grant is reduced. The reduction in the grant is then used to provide ASIS funding to additional schools. So the original tranche of schools that were chosen when ASIS was passed are the primary recipients of the grant and continue to be them. But every year, the Department of Education provides grants to new schools based on any unused funds from prior years. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Thank you. Department of Finance.
Thank you. Jessica Holmes, Department of Finance. We don't have a position on this proposal. However, we would note that fiscally, currently districts, or as Ms. Chu said, schools and districts can provide their general fund, their LCFF funding, to help meet the cost of these programs. So they're not limited in that way. To the extent that additional funding within Proposition 98 is provided specifically to after-school programs, generally speaking, because the vast majority of our ongoing 98 does go to LCFF, that would basically move funding from LCFF to these after-school programs. So it's sort of a color of money issue at that point, and to the like I said, to the extent that the locals choose to add funding to these programs, they can do so already.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? Mr. O'Donnell.
I have a question. I don't know who can answer this. With regard to Prop 49, that is not Prop 98, within Prop 98 now, correct?
Yes, it is. It's within Proposition 98. Yes, okay. The Proposition 49 passed to use Proposition 98 money to provide the program.
So it carved out dollars.
Correct. Yes,
from
a dedicated funding stream.
Okay.
Correct.
To after-school programs.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. And just to note, that there was a significant amount of state money in after-school programs. I know it was a big priority of Mr. Torlickson when he was an assembly member. So Prop 49 continued that and put more money in the pot. So I wanted to talk about this a bit for a bit. It's a priority of mine. And first of all, Ms. Roth, thank you for the testifying and for the work you do here in our local community, and making sure that people like Juicy have a future. I'll keep thinking of Juicy J when I think of Juicy. Hope to meet him one day. But we've heard loud and clear that this is a big priority in our local communities, and that costs have gone up. So 10 years ago, when you got X amount of money to serve students, whether it's salary or benefits or just the cost of everything, you're serving a certain amount of students and a certain amount of money, eventually you're going to serve less students. And so I think that it warrants the consideration to take a look at these programs and see what we can do to continue not necessarily serving more, but continue to keep pace with who we're currently serving. And so I guess I want to focus for a second with Department of Finance and Department of Education. That we're of course going out of the Great Recession. So my understanding, this passed in 2002, but there was a trigger. It said this won't go into effect until we get essentially more money in the state. And so in 2006, when it finally kicked in, So it was going for a couple years, and then we all of a sudden had a big hurt in the state of California. So it really wasn't the opportunity, appetite to look at expanding. But in the last couple years, had it been considered to taking a look at doing a COLA or some type of increase to ACEs, knowing that other state programs, whether they're IHSS or certainly the debate for child care and preschool, you're talking about minimum wage impacts and so forth?
My understanding is that Finance has not provided a proposal for that in the last several years in the governor's budget and such.
But has it ever been thrown around that, hey, maybe this is something we ought to take a look at doing?
I think with the passage of the local control funding formula, there is the way that the program is set up is that the schools do provide part of the funding for these programs, and so to the extent that maybe you're in a higher cost area that the school would take sort of more of the cost and provide additional funding, but I don't have an understanding that we've provided any kind of proposal for that.
Okay. Do you want to provide anything, Ms. Ramos?
So the Department of Education hasn't put in a request for a COLA essentially either. We did try to have some conversations last year surrounding the minimum wage increase. Unfortunately, we didn't have terrific information to build off of. But I think we did that in recognition of the fact that the cost was going up to these providers, and also that the department has been working on ensuring that we're having higher quality programs. So I think especially as it's a priority of the superintendent to have these programs be as high quality as possible, it does have a tendency to increase costs, plus the cost of just inflation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I know we have some public comment on this, but going back to some of the numbers that are thrown out here in the agenda, and I know there's legislation. We're not considering that, of course, today. That's in a separate house, a separate process. But if there was a traditional COLA, there's not necessarily a COLA here per se, what number would that equate to? And maybe if the analyst would opine here now or work with us to try to figure out what that should be or what could be.
Sure. So the COLA rate was just adjusted downward. It's hovering around 1.5% this year. So it would likely I think the estimate that you have in your agenda would be to increase the statutory per child rate that's currently provided rather than look at providing any sort of COLA adjustment. Mm-hmm. But we could certainly help and run some estimates on what a COLA adjustment would cost based on the most recent COLA figures.
And what other state programs had an adjustment in the last year since we increased the minimum wage? And how did those? What were the mechanics of how they figured out the amount?
Sure. So maybe a good example is in childcare. We actually did not provide a COLA last year. The COLA was statutorily suspended for childcare, but is supposed to be ticked back on this year. For the programs that use the standard reimbursement rate, the COLA adjusts the rate per child. For the programs that use the regional market rate, the COLA just increases the total appropriation for the program. In terms of programs on the Health and Human Services side that received COLA over the past few years, I could work with your office to provide that information to you.
Okay. But do you think that it says an apples versus apples comparison here, that there's a fairness issue with this after-school program as well?
Well, the child care programs are required by statute to receive COLA, so it is at the legislature's discretion whether or not the program should keep pace with the cost of living.
Okay. Thank you. Public comment on this item? 1 minute or less, please.
Good morning. My name is Citlali Aguilera Rico. I'm in the 8th grade and attend George K. Porter Middle School in Granada Hills, California. After School All-Stars, my after-school program has provided me with the wonderful experience to be the Youth Advisory Board member for our LA chapter of our national program. I spearheaded a no texting and driving campaign for my service learning project. It was a great success. I'm also part of the Science Club at All-Stars, and it helps me to build upon what I learned from my curriculum at school. After-school programs are important because they give academic assistance to kids so they stay in school and also keeps kids off the streets and out of trouble. After-school programs are important to me because it gives me a place to go after school until my mom comes at 5:45 to pick me up every day because she works late. She works late because I live in a single-parent home. All-Stars has also improved my grades. I have straight A's thanks to All-Stars. I have learned healthy eating habits as well as high school preparation skills. They have also taught me the importance of education and attending college. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for hearing my comment. My name is Mirna Malgar, and I'm the Executive Director of the Jamestown Community Center in San Francisco. We serve about 1,500 children and youth every year. 80% of them are low income and eligible for free and reduced lunch, and 85% of them are Latino and 10% African American. 100% of the high schoolers we serve graduate from high school and go on to college. And the reason for that is that we have funding to provide a robust set of services that our children would not otherwise have access to. We try to provide enrichment in after school that mirrors that which more affluent children serve. So one of the things that is really important in this equation is that it does something for the community that we serve, which is very low income. Families have after school program which allows them to have jobs, to integrate into the community. And for immigrant low income communities like ours, it's really important to be able to get out of poverty. So thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Britt Irby, the coordinator for the Expanded Learning Programs for Sacramento City Unified School District. Thank you for hearing our comments today about the importance of after-school programming. In Sac City, we serve over 12,000 students each day and over 61 after-school programs, and then an additional 33 programs in the summer. We're working with local and nationally based community partners to do that work, and our valuable partners have been stretched really thin based on the lack of an adjustment to the grant dollars to support this work over ultimately about 10 years. Important to note that our model here in Sac City, which just last week was recognized by State Superintendent Tom Torlickson's office for a high quality after school programming model, we are very intentional about those interventions. It's not just keeping kids off the street from 3 to 6. It's not just providing some tutoring and academic support, but we're also providing violence prevention, alcohol, tobacco, and other drug prevention, healthy lifestyle choice education, nutrition education, and much more. Our partners' need has resulted in longer wait lists for kids and high staff turnover, and the investment that you'll be making is critical to continue this work. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chair and Budget Committee. My name is Donnie Falio. I'm actually a program director with After School All-Stars down in Southern California. We actually have some programs in and near Assemblymember O'Donnell's his district, and so happy to be here to be able to represent our programs and really to talk about what's already been shared already in terms of I've been in after school programs for about 12 years now, and what has already been mentioned around the $7.50 student rate that has not changed over nearly a decade. It's definitely had a negative impact in terms of the minimum wage increase. When you look at the dollar increase to $9 in 2014 in July, we have felt the impact in terms of just the overall quality of programming. When you look at what Assemblymember O'Donnell mentioned with youth development, it really starts with staff development. So it really limits us in terms of resources for professional development for our staff. We've had to cut staff. It's really been hard to be able to retain them because of not being able to have a competitive pay for them. Also, just in terms of real-life applications, real-life experiences for our students have been limited. And so we've been able to experience that and hope that you guys would take into consideration the increase of the ACES, in particular SB 645. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. First, I'd like to thank the chair for his leadership on this issue. It's a very important thing. This after-school programs are disproportionately in disadvantaged areas of the state. City of Sacramento is in support of this and would ask you to fund it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCarty. Very nice to see you. Brian Fitzgerald with the City of Sacramento Parks and Recreation Department. I am the Recreation Superintendent in charge of the Sacramento START program. The START program was one of the first funded after-school programs by the state. Today we serve over 4,400 students. And one of the things of being in that program for over 20 years, we are seeing students who have been in our program come back to be employees with us. We have seen employees who have gone on to be teachers and even principals in local schools. The impact of increased cost of labor is dramatically impacting the after-school program's deliverables. We're seeing that we're not able to provide as much professional development time. We're seeing that we're not able to provide the added enrichment opportunities because we're having to pay increased labor costs. Specifically, for the next fiscal year, this program's looking at over $450,000 in labor increases due to Affordable Care Act, minimum wage increases, and also the 3-day sick leave. So really want to encourage this, the passage of the Senate bill and to move this forward. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Brad Lupian. I'm founder and president of ARC, a community-based organization in Southern California. We oversee 30 ACES programs down in Southern California, including 3 in Oceanside, Chavez and Jefferson Middle Schools, as well as Laurel Elementary School. Over the past couple of years, I have watched as the minimum wage increased and COLA increased. I've watched my programs and other programs my colleagues have to cut professional development and eliminate some of the higher quality programs like our robotics program, our cyber security programs. These programs are getting cut just so we can make payroll at this existing rate. I started my career as a probation officer. Now running an organization doing this work, I'd much rather see us spending the money on the front end with education instead of on rehabilitation and incarceration later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is Melissa Tovar, and I'm here representing Fullerton School District. I supervise the ACES grant-funded programs. We oversee 11 sites, and if SB 645 does fail, it will continue to be a challenge to provide quality after-school programs. According to CDE, California expanded learning programs are an integral part of young people's education that engages them in learning opportunities that prepare them for college, career, and life. Program staff are an integral part in expanded learning programs. However, it has become much harder to attract and retain quality staff. If we are expecting to provide safe environments for students with effective programming, all while maintaining grant compliance, in addition to fulfilling the expanded learning mission statements, with low-performing staff, we will fall through the cracks. Quality staff are those who want to be working with the youth. They take initiative. They are team players. They are proactive. They are the backbone to our programs. With low-performing and low-quality staff, we are as strong as our weakest link. After-school programs are no longer a luxury. They are a necessity. Thank you.
Terry Burns on behalf of the California School Boards Association, and these are the programs that we partner with. Having a wage that allows us to attract and retain quality people helps us to integrate this program during the school day with the after-school program successfully. It's time for these programs to have an increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maureen Price, and I'm the CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Sacramento. We serve about 2,700 youth annually at 12 sites around the region. 7 of those sites are ACES sites and serve about 700 youth each day in the before, after school, and summer program. Since 2006, as we know, the cost of living and minimum wage has increased. These increases definitely benefit our families and our employees, and we support that. However, without a corresponding increase in the support that we receive, it will significantly impact the quality of the programs and our ability to operate. As providers, we're all doing our part. We're already required to subsidize the ACES programs through our own resources by providing a 33% match. At the Boys and Girls Club and many other providers go far beyond that, like our United Way Star Readers program, our Intel Robotics program, and our Ross Tutoring program. ACES has rigorous standards that require us to serve anywhere from 85 to 160 kids each day, maintaining a high staffing ratio of 20-to-1 and providing 3 key program components. There really is no room for cuts. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Erin Evans-Fudom on behalf of the California Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs. The California Alliance serves nearly 600,000 kids each year in 513 sites, many of which are funded through ASIS programs in our elementary and middle school sites. I will not repeat, but I will echo the comments made by my colleague Ms. Price in terms of the cost pressures. I also want to mention that after school is no longer an afterthought. It really is woven into the fabric of a child's school day. It's integral to their academic success, and it's a consistent adult presence during the all-important after-school hours. The modest $1 increase would average out to roughly a $15,000 increase for each elementary school site we operate, and ensure the continued ability to provide high-quality programs. We ask for your support of the modest $1 increase in the daily rate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Chris Lev Twombly, Executive Director for the California State Alliance of YMCAs. 19 of our 33 nonprofit YMCA associations run ASIS programs throughout the state at about 375 sites. We serve tens of thousands of students each day, and we do so as an extension of our charitable mission. We see ASIS programs as the best way for us to reach the students that need the services the most. But as my colleagues have stated, rising costs have challenged our ability to sustain these programs as part of our charitable mission. So we support an increase and encourage you to do so as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Jennifer Dietrich on behalf of the Partnership for Children and Youth, a statewide nonprofit based in Oakland. We have some information for members and staff. I'd like you to take a look, hopefully, at our sign-on letter with more than 40 organizations of after-school providers around the state who are in support of raising the ASIS daily rate from $750 to $850. Also, I'd like you to see that we conducted a survey with almost 600 after-school providers who can tell you what this impact is having on them today. 89% of those interviewed that are ASIS funded are already feeling the negative impact. Additionally, we wanted to say that to clarify that there are over 4,000 schools, not 450 that may have been mentioned earlier, who receive this funding. So please take a look at our literature, and we support this increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Brian Lee on behalf of Fight Crime Invest in Kids and hundreds of police chiefs, sheriffs, district attorneys, and crime victims across California. Also on behalf of Mission Readiness, dozens of retired admirals and generals, all supporting evidence-based investments in kids. California's made a great commitment in after-school programs. We've invested over $5 billion in the past decade, created an after-school division at the Department of Ed, created a quality infrastructure. But without increasing the rates, this is all going to go for naught. There's been so many great advantages and benefits that we've seen, keeping kids off the streets, on track to graduate, even providing federally funded after-school meals because you have an infrastructure in place. $100 million in free federal dollars have been able to be accessed because of this. So it's very critical that we continue this infrastructure. Unfortunately, LCFF is not the right place to look. We've looked at the LCAPs this year, and it's very few and far between where they've actually invested money in their ACES programs. So we encourage you to support this increase, and thank you for your leadership.
Good morning. Barrett Snyder, on behalf of the San Diego County Office of Education, in support of increasing the rate. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Debbie Yauk. I'm the Vice President of the Anaheim Family YMCA, where I oversee 47 after-school programs from K through 12th grade in partnership with the Anaheim City, Magnolia, Anaheim Union, and Savannah school districts. For the past few years, we have been making cuts to accommodate normal cost of living increases and other newly imposed laws, like the 3-day sick leave requirement. With mandate changes, in addition to cost of living increases, we will be forced to cut into the day-to-day program and staffing expenses. Each day in Anaheim, our more than 370 staff provide supervision to 7,000 students. We operate in severely low-income areas where 85 to 99% of our students are eligible for free and reduced lunch. There is no doubt these neighborhoods are in need for a place where their youth can be safe, be supervised, and be in a quality learning environment daily. It is because of the ACES funding that we can meet that daily need. Each day we focus on the future of the potential of our youth, but our youth need us today. They need us to make decisions that will be best serve them and their families here and now. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Rand Martin on behalf of the California After School Coalition and LA's Best, which is aligned with LAUSD. Most of these wonderful people have taken most of my arguments, so I can be very brief. I just wanted to mention one thing in response to the chair's question earlier about COLA. Our request is for $54 million, which equates to the two $1 minimum wage increases, one from last year and one coming up in January. Does not take into account other cost of living increases, including the new sick leave policy that goes into effect on July 1st, which is going to have an impact. So we would ask that the committee, when considering whether and how much to augment this program by, keep in mind that a 1 to 2% COLA barely scratches the surface in terms of getting us back on track. And hopefully, if a COLA is granted by this committee, that it'll be something closer to what the programs actually need. We appreciate your support. And again, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for your leadership on this.
Thank you. Okay. Questions from committee members? No. Again, we will hold this issue open. It's a priority to take a look at this during the May revision.